When Toyota launched the 5th generation Supra, I thought that they started off a bit on the wrong foot. And I'm not talking about the fact that it's mostly a BMW underneath. I'm over that. What I'm talking about is the fact that they didn't offer this car with a manual transmission. But now, in 2023, this car finally has a 6-speed gearbox. And this particular car is the A91 limited edition. It's so limited that there's only going to be 50 of them here in Canada, 500 for the United States. So seeing one of these out on the roads is as rare as, I don't know, scoring a date with a Victoria's Secret model. You just won't see another one of them out on the roads. But limited edition aside, how good is the Supra now that it has a 6-speed manual gearbox? Let's go for a drive and find out. Oh. So yes, there are at least 2 A91 limited edition manual Supras here in Vancouver. This one is a press car from Toyota Canada. The other one is a friend's car, which he got lucky and managed to buy it. But anyway, beyond that, how does the new 6-speed manual transmission feel like? Well, in a word, perfect. Ever since I drove the A91 manual Supra last year, which was my friend's car, and that one was more of a first drive review against the Nissan Z, I always said that the Mazda MX-5 had the best feeling manual shifter. But now, it's this Toyota Supra. So it is a ZF 6-speed, but Toyota have tuned it just a little bit. The result is a shifter that feels very mechanical and really satisfying to use. As soon as you start to move the shifter into the next gear, there's a little bit of resistance, but then after that, as you push a little bit more, it just slots right into the next gear. It's very mechanical feeling, almost like as though you're pushing on a spring-loaded ball bearing. Plus, in the 5 or so days that I've driven this car now, I have yet to miss shift with this shifter. It's so satisfying to use. The clutch pedal does have quite a long travel, but the bite point is very distinct. It's not quite at the bottom and it's not in the middle, it's maybe a quarter of the way from the bottom. The pedal itself is not too heavy, so if you do use this car on a daily basis to commute to and from work, it's not gonna make your leg get really tired and sore after a trip. And finally, this transmission does have rev matching, which you can turn off if you don't like it and would rather do the auto blipping on your own with your feet. But if you leave the system on, it is really good. It knows exactly when to blip the engine. Even if you go from, say, 6th gear to 4th gear, it knows exactly when to blip the engine and by how much. As for the rest of the car, it uses the same 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 engine that is found in the standard automatic Supra. It's the B58 engine. Is there some sort of running joke that I don't know about? Anyway, it produces 382 horsepower and 368 pound-feet of torque. With this manual transmission, the Toyota Supra now does the 0 to 60 mile an hour sprint in 4.2 seconds. It is a little bit slower than the automatic, as it's expected. And also, fuel economy is a little bit worse compared to the automatic, at 12.7 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.8 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. However, I've been able to average about 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers, so it's not too bad. This engine has plenty of torque down low in the RPM range, and the power delivery is smooth and linear. The brakes are 4 pistons in the front and single piston in the back. And for everyday city driving or a little bit of enthusiastic driving on mountain roads, they have plenty of bite and plenty of stopping force. I have heard that if you take this car to a racetrack and it's a very brake heavy type of track, then the brake pedal is going to go pretty far down. So it would be worth considering changing to more aggressive brake pads. The Toyota Supra has quite a lively chassis. If you push it hard to its limits, you'll find that the back end will want to overtake the front end. In other words, spin out. But because of this unique characteristic, the car feels agile and can quickly change directions. The steering is electro-assisted with a pretty good amount of feel and sharp response. This 6-cylinder version is also equipped with a limited slip differential and adaptive dampers. So obviously the biggest difference inside this manual Supra has to do with the center console and the shifter. It does take up a little bit more space than the automatic shifter, and as such the iDrive controller had to be moved a little bit closer to the passenger side. So the entire center console right here is a little bit wider than in the automatic, but the passenger still has a lot of space. This A91 edition gets these tan leather seats as well as tan on the center console, on the steering wheel, and on the door panels. Plus it gets an Alcantara shifter instead of, I think it's leather in the standard Supra. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't seen the standard Supra shifter. But everything else inside this manual Supra is exactly the same as in the automatic, so a lot of the controls are straight from BMW. But I'm not complaining because every single function has its own dedicated button, like the heated seats or the sport mode button or the traction control off button and so on. It's not like the newer generation BMWs where everything is buried into the infotainment system. There are a few annoyances though with the Toyota Supra, and one of them is with the driver display. So when sunlight hits it, it is nice and bright and you can still easily see it. But when it's a bright and sunny day like how it is today and sunlight doesn't hit it, then your eyes get adjusted to the brightness of the outside, but then every time that you need to glance down to look at the RPMs or your fuel or whatever it may be, it takes a while for your eyes to readjust to how dark and dim this instrument cluster is. And there is a dimmer switch right next to my left knee, but it doesn't really do anything when it's bright outside. It only adjusts the dimness or the dimming of this instrument cluster at nighttime. Another annoying thing that I found out while driving this Toyota Supra for the past week has to do with the cup holders. This front cup holder is in the way no matter what, because every time you shift, it just gets in the way whenever you have a drink in there. But you can use the second one, and the only thing is you have to be aware whenever you switch from first to second or third to fourth, because if you switch too hard, then you could hit it and spill your coffee everywhere. But the biggest Achilles heel of the Toyota Supra has to do with outward visibility. Seeing out the front and out the side is a little bit challenging due to the low roof line, and you could inadvertently bonk your head up against this part of the roof. But once you are inside, there is a lot of headroom. So much so that you can actually wear a helmet even if you are as tall as myself at 6'4" and still not have the helmet touch the top of the roof, as I demonstrate here in the 2-liter Toyota Supra that I drove last year. And of course, in terms of legroom, for someone again above average height as myself, I have plenty of it. And blind zones are okay on this side, but on that side it is massive. Thankfully, the Toyota Supra does have blind spot sensors as standard. And that's about it for the passenger area. Now let's go check out the trunk. The Toyota Supra has 290 liters of cargo space, which is not too bad, but the opening is quite narrow, so it makes loading and unloading of longer items a little bit more difficult. But a bigger pet peeve that I have has to do with the fact that there's only 2 ways to open this trunk. One is with the button on the key fob, and another is with the little button that's on the driver's side door. So when you walk up to your Supra and you want to open the trunk first, you either have to fumble in your pocket for the key or in your purse for the key, or you have to walk all the way around, open the door, push the button, and then walk all the way back to open the trunk. Not that big of a deal, but you kind of do miss it once you notice that it's not actually there. There's just no button underneath here at all. Yeah, it's just a minor annoyance. Getting your hands on a 2023 Toyota Supra with a 6-speed manual transmission will not cost you a premium over the automatic version. The car is $69,000 Canadian, but the A91 package will tack on another $1,630 Canadian to that price. In the United States, the A91 is packaged differently, which is why it costs $2,695 American. The A91 is a fully loaded sports car with every convenience feature that is available on the Supra. These include the tan leather seats that I mentioned earlier, which are also heated, and there's a heated steering wheel. There's dual zone automatic climate control, keyless entry and push button start, built-in navigation system, power adjustable seats, a head-up display, front and rear parking sensors, and a 12-speaker audio system. And as for safety, in addition to the blind spot sensors that I mentioned earlier, in Canada we also get lane departure warning with lane keep, pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, automatic high beams, rear cross traffic alert, and road sign assist. In the United States, blind spot sensors, rear cross traffic alert, cruise control, parking sensors, and a few other convenience features are part of the safety and technology package. So yes, the Toyota Supra with the manual transmission is not as fast as the automatic. It's a little bit more annoying when you're stuck in rush hour traffic, and fuel economy isn't as good. But when you find yourself on a twisty backcountry road or on a mountain road, it just feels so much more enjoyable driving a car with a manual transmission than one with an automatic. To me at least, it feels like as though I'm part of the car and I'm actually doing something. And it's a shame to see manual transmissions go. So definitely a car that you should buy if you can. And if you'd like to know more about this 2023 Toyota Supra A91 Manual Edition, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or most likely it'll probably be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.